When we think about leadership today, one of the most inspiring shifts we've witnessed is the rise of women leaders across industries and communities. Women leaders often bring unique perspectives, balancing strength with empathy, strategy with collaboration, and resilience with purpose. They navigate challenges not only in their professional roles, but also in breaking barriers, redefining success, and paving the way for others to follow. Their stories remind us that leadership is not just about power, it's about impact, and it's about the courage to create change. The courage to step into the unknown, to create opportunities where none exists, and to lead with conviction even when the path is uncharted. Today's guest embodies that spirit, starting her journey with a town planning degrees at UNSW, and she went on to establish her own consultancy where she leads projects that touch communities across New South Wales. From navigating development application for places of public worship to taking on of the first applications for Adhan at Lakemba Mosque, she has shown how leadership can shape not just buildings, but lives. Welcome to another episode of the Leaders Code podcast, where we explore the stories behind resilient, purpose-driven leaders. I am your host, Rhonda Jamleoui, and in this episode, we step into the story of a woman who dared to build, dared to lead, and continues to inspire by turning her vision into reality. One application, one decision, and one courageous step at a time. Rhonda Jamleoui, the founder of Rockeman Town Planning. Welcome today, Rhonda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. My name is Rhonda. I am a town planner. I'm a sole business owner and run a small town planning consultancy in southwest Sydney. I have built that consultancy about 10 years ago now, maybe just over 10 years now. I manage a small team of other town planners, and I have had previous experience in local government and private consultancy before deciding to go out on my own.
Rhonda, you started your journey with a town planning degree at UNSW and then built your own planning consultancy business. What inspired you to take this leap from employment into running your own business?
Yeah, good question. I worked for local government for about 8 years and then worked for an architecture firm for about a year. I was then looking for something new. I was applying for different jobs in large town planning consultancies and large planning firms. And honestly, I would get to the last stage of the interview process and realize this is not what I want. I don't want to work for these people. I, at the time, had 2 very small babies and was really looking for not only flexibility, but work-life balance. And I think I had that confidence in where I knew what I was doing and I knew I could achieve something more rather than working for somebody else. And during these, interview processes, I was doing a lot of private jobs that would just come to me for word of mouth. And at that point, it had grew to a point where I was just doing work every single day in between interviews. So I decided that I wasn't going to take any of the job offers I was given, and that was the start of my business and haven't looked back since.
That's inspiring, Rhonda. But I can see from your work now into your beautiful consultancy planning that you are taking a lot of application that are community-based through like doing application for public places of public worship. What drew you into this?
I can't say that I was drawn to them. There's simply a demand for those types of applications. There's simply a demand for social infrastructure. So places of public worship, and mind you, I don't just do places of public worship. I do a lot of community facilities, community halls, sporting fields, Buddhist temples, etc. But I think there is just a demand for it. And I think over time I've built that trust with those types of organizations and clientele. And I literally just get recommended from different community organization to the next community organization. And I think I've just built that trust with them. Yeah, did that?
But this trust with the community and this your transactions and your business with this community, what has it taught you about leadership in a community context?
That it's very important. Leadership in a community context is very, very important. Before we even have any type of social infrastructure like mosques or community halls or sporting fields, it just stems from an idea. But a leader takes that idea into a vision and creates a strategy and starts the whole delegation process with all the stakeholders that they need. So without a leader, it doesn't actually happen. Leaders are important to create that social cohesion and, create that sense of belonging maybe that people need. And these spaces really are just safe spaces for communities, especially multicultural communities. Whether it being, a sporting field or a place of public worship, it's a place where people come together, they feel safe. Sometimes it's just a little piece of home that they create in their new country, and it's with like-minded people. So having a leader in this community context is so important because it takes that idea into a vision and into a reality.
Creating this sense of belonging, that's really inspiring, Rhonda. I will take that and explore it for a moment. What does it feel for you as a leader? What does it take to shape your leadership style? This sense of belonging.
Yeah.
It's so unique, isn't it?
It is. And I actually wrote a whole thesis on this. And creating places where people feel safe, where they belong, public spaces where they can meet people, where they can, like I said, just be with like-minded people is really important in, fostering a very successful society. And it stems from all types of social infrastructure. But just having, a small place in Greenacre where you can come and meet your friends, or you can have a masala down the road where, everyone in your neighbourhood attends every Friday or every morning prayer, or having that, community hall that your small community from whichever culture it is can, hire out and, be together. It's really creating spaces is more about social cohesion and belonging and safety, and it's really important for a society.
I love this passion for your work.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me, Rhonda, what are your major decisions in your career?
Major decisions. Well, I'm going to say the first one was deciding to let go of my full-time job and start my own business. That was a big decision because I doubted myself for a little while.
Was it risky?
It was a little bit. It was a little bit. But I knew I had it in me. So that was probably the first major step of uncertainty. The second would be about 5 years into my business, I decided that I needed a permanent team, not just contractors, not people that would just come in casually and help me. I needed a full-time team. And in hindsight, I wish I had done it earlier. The team that I created, and people come and go, but the team that I created is obviously, I'm not just teaching other planners, but they're a support base for me. And it's not just about delegating different work, but it's, it's that support. All leaders need support, I think. We don't just create it on our own. We lead, but we do need that support behind us. And I think in hindsight, I wish I had done it earlier, because I probably could have achieved more earlier.
How do you feel about these choices today?
I definitely made the right decision. Over 10 years on, I've never applied for a job since.
Wow.
Never even thought to go back to local government. My clientele right now is probably the best it's ever been, the strongest it's ever been. I'm doing work that probably, if I had stayed in local government or a private consultancy, I wouldn't have done for another, 10 or so years. So I'm pretty happy that I had made those choices. Yeah.
I can feel this positive relationship between you and your team. And if you're talking about sharing and the excitement of sharing a project, big project with your team, but how do you engage your team or keep your team motivated?
It's not always fun. There are days and there are weeks that we don't even get out on site. We don't even go to meetings. It's literally sitting behind a computer writing reports, and it can be tedious. But how do I keep them motivated? I think I lead by example. I show up every day. I stay focused. I persevere. I adapt to new legislation, new things that come through, and I'm always happy to share the good news, and I'm always happy to teach them anything new that's come out. And they still show up, and they're still very enthusiastic. And yeah.
But yeah, it's beautiful when everything is positive, but sometimes we have challenges. How do you stay grounded in this moment of uncertainty or pressure?
I have to say that has happened more now than ever. As my company grows and I take on more complex applications, more socially contentious applications, just like the one that I went through last week with the Adan at Lakemba Mosque. Really groundbreaking applications that have never been done before. Environmentally sensitive applications that go to the Land Environment Court. And sometimes I feel like I'm in too deep, you know. And how do I stay grounded? I probably, in times of uncertainty, I literally break it down. I sit myself down, give myself that pep talk and say, you can do this. You've done it before. You can do it again. I persevere through it. And how I do that is I literally have a notepad and pen, break it down from the vision to the goals to the strategy, and make sure that I've covered everything that I need to cover. And often there's a lot of context to cover, especially if an application is, if you're an expert witness in the Land Environment Court, or you have, like in the application I had last week, had a lot of media attention, was very socially contentious. You get nervous.
Of course, yeah.
And you often, I doubted myself, and I thought, am I even good enough to represent this type of application?
Yeah.
But you know what? Every time I go in there,
Question yourself.
I do my thing, and I come out and say, it wasn't that bad. I knew more than I thought I did.
But in terms of well-being, mental well-being, how do you stay focused on positivity and opportunities? Sometimes there are opportunities hidden within the challenges. How do you stay focused or shift your focus towards positivity? Because I can see that you are a positive person.
Yeah, I am. Being positive is not always easy, especially when there's a lot of pressure and you're really trying to do that work-life balance, and it doesn't feel very balanced. How do I stay positive? I stay focused. I focus on the issue. I focus on what's ahead. I just think about what needs to be done and just get it done. And I think, I perform well under pressure, in high intensity situations. But probably my biggest fear is myself, is the doubt that I put in myself. So if I remain positive and I know that every single time, every application is different, I'm learning something new every time and I'm growing every single time, then, you're unstoppable, really.
Let's keep exploring the challenge that you went through, Rhonda. And I know that being the only woman in the room, it was a reality that you faced often. Can you share a moment that it's particularly was challenging for you, and how did you navigate that?
Yeah. Well, being the only woman in a room in a very male-dominated industry, in the construction development industry, probably happens, once a week for me. And I have to say it's a little bit less now than it was before when I first started 10 years ago. The culture is changing and there are a lot more women that are planners and architects and engineers. So these days I don't actually find myself the only woman in the room, but it often does happen. An example of a time where I did feel like the only woman in the room, it was probably about a year ago now. I was an expert witness for a application that was appearing in the Land Environment Court, and I was representing an owner of a site. And without going into details about the application, the process is, we spend months negotiating back and forth with council. So there's a lot of preparation work before we actually get to a court hearing. So I was working with the barristers, solicitors, all the stakeholders, engineers, project manager, back and forth for months. We got to the court hearing, which was a 3 long days, very intense, high pressure court hearing. But I was quietly confident that we had done enough work to get what we wanted approved by the commissioner. So I only met probably the client on the very last day of the court hearing, which he decided to turn up. And at the 11th hour of this court hearing, on the third day, council offered to negotiate. And this negotiation process is, we call a recess in the Land Environment Court. And there's this very, very small room outside the Land Environment Court called a mediation room. And it's about probably 4 square metres. And I was in there with the owner and the barristers and about 15 other consultants. And I was sitting next to the owner, and it was a high-pressure situation. And the barrister looked at my client and says, okay, you have 20 seconds to make a decision. Tell me what you want to do.
Wow.
The owner just sat back in his chair, very cool, very calm, and said, well, gentlemen, I am a gambling man. I'm going to let the lady make the decision. And I kind of just put my head up and I thought, oh my God, that's the first time I've ever been called out as being the only lady in the room. And the barrister sitting opposite me
Wow.
looked at me and said, well, you're the only lady in the room. 5 seconds, make a decision. And at that point, I wasn't sure how to feel. Yes, I was the only lady within about 15 other men in this very tiny room. And I just looked up to the client and I said to him, the owner, and I said, I'm not going to make the decision for you, but I am your town planner and I have been working on this application for a very long time. I'm confident that we've done enough work that the commissioner will rule in your favour. And he says, well, we'll go with whatever the lady says. And at that point I thought, it's the first time I've ever been called out as being the only lady in the room. Luckily for me, it paid off and the commissioner did rule in our favour. But I actually did sit back and think, wow.
What has it taught you about your leadership style? This moment of confidence.
Yeah. I think I think at that point I realized I do have that quiet confidence. I lead with confidence. I lead with clarity. I stay focused. I don't let being the only woman in the room get to me. I'm a town planner. It's not a male job. It's not a female job. It's a job, and I think I do it well.
Excellent. That's
Yeah.
beautiful and inspiring, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Now, I want you to imagine that you are going on a leadership journey and you want to take a backpack with you.
Okay.
And you want to put in that pack or that a backpack 3 values, 3 skills, and 3 mindset. I want you to choose from each card 3 of those and arrange them for me in order of importance for Rhonda, for your leadership journey.
Okay. In terms of mindset, the first one would be persistence. Being a leader means you got to stay focused no matter what comes your way. So persistence would be the first mindset I would choose. Resilience. In my industry, there's a lot of different factors that can, take your business from up here to down here and back up there. So I'm going to say resilience is the second one. And adaptability. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to change. So that would definitely be on my list for mindset.
Beautiful. It's a flexible leader. How can I see you?
Yeah.
Okay. Skills now.
Skills. I have to say the first one for me would be listening. And it's an actual skill that I've had to learn. You don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you have to be open to listening to not only what you think you can achieve, but what the constraints are and what your client wants. So listening is probably the first one. Communication is important. Making sure that every single stakeholder, whether it's a proponent or council or whoever you're dealing with, is on the same page. Everyone is actually listening and, communicating the same song the whole way through.
So taking in consideration their perspectives.
Probably the third one would be strategic thinking. That's a really important skill. So often and I'll just take one example, when we take applications when we start an application, we actually know how much we can achieve or what we aim to achieve. We know what council is going to support. So we have a game plan from the beginning. So being strategic about what we actually lodge and what we actually end up with is really important. So it's not always about revealing your cards straight up.
So let me stay with this for a moment and ask you, since you have strategic thinking as an important skill in your life, what sort of impact you want to, or you're looking to make through your work in the next 5 to 10 years?
I would like to do applications that help me grow. And not just as a town planner, but as a leader, as a business owner. And they come from being socially contentious, community contentious, environmentally affected, really difficult sites, really difficult applications, dealing with difficult people, dealing with difficult councils. And
you are a challenging woman then.
I think it just comes with the territory, really. But I've succeeded so far and I'm learning every single day. So that's probably where I see myself in 5 to 10 years. I also would like to know that my work is contributing to the community, which is why I take a lot more of these community applications on. I do a lot of places of public worship. I do a lot of community facilities, social infrastructure, funeral premises, things that really benefit communities, things that really bring people together, creating spaces that people belong.
Yeah.
That's probably my little niche, and that's
You
my
care about
contribution
people.
to that I'd like to have probably when I finish up my business. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's go to values now.
Values. Courage is probably the first one. Courage, like you said, I work in
I can see that.
very male-dominated industry. So I do often have to be courageous.
Yep.
And, put my doubts aside. Accountable. Being in the private sector, you're usually the first consultant that clients come to before they even purchase the site, and they ask for your advice and they ask for your feasibilities. So I have to be accountable when I tell a client you can achieve X. We actually have to prepare applications for X and be confident enough that we can achieve that. So being accountable and having that open relationship with the client. Authentic, I think, is the third one. Just staying true to myself. I do work in a very male-dominated industry, but I don't have to act like a male. I am still myself. I still try to stay true to myself. I try not to...
How do you stay true to your values when making tough decisions, Rhonda?
How do I stay true to my values when I make...
Always uphold your values, no matter what.
Yeah, I think a good leader knows when to say no. A good leader has that foresight that sees something as an opportunity or a strength, or really sees it as a hindrance or something that you don't value, something that you can't support. And I think all of these, being courageous to say no, being accountable when you you have an application that you don't actually really support yourself, and staying true to your values is really important in my industry, I think.
That's beautiful. I want to move to another aspect of your journey now. Being strategic thinker, you always think about long-term goals. And in this activity, I want you to choose or arrange actually these 4 boxes that each one holds the name of a strategy. I'll call that a leadership compass that I found in my research that most of executives implement in their career or use consistently in their career as key strategies. I want you to check them and arrange them in order of importance to your leadership journey.
Okay. My leadership journey. Okay. I'm going to say the first one would be risk-taking through effective communication. The second would be continuous learning through renewal and innovation, and trust-based decision-making. And I think these all come from just leading by example. Just really being on the ground with your team, making decisions, tough decisions often, being adaptable, and really just having that confidence.
So you left one strategy aside, which is vision-driven. And I want to ask you, why did you leave this aside, since you are strategic thinking and this is about your vision?
Good question. And it's probably going to sound a little bit counterintuitive to probably how businesses and leaders work, but I think it's just, I take it day by day, application by application. I just focus on what's in front of me at that time, and I just trust that these decisions that I make are really are what is going to grow not only my skills but my business and my clientele, and I just feel like the vision will actually just come.
Do you think you will include that in the future in your leadership journey?
I think my business is really built on the opportunity of having work-life balance. So yeah, it's nice to have a vision, but it's also nice to have that opportunity to say, I don't want to just grow my business for the sake of growing it. I want it to serve me and serve my lifestyle and my family. So that's what I mean by day.
So your secret word is balancing, you know.
Yeah, I and it's not always easy, but that's the goal.
Okay. I'm really happy with your conversation,
Yeah.
but this is our last question.
Sure.
So if you could instill your leadership philosophy into a leader's code, a principle that you live and lead by, no matter what would it be?
Persevere. Do it. I'm going to say that my business is a great example of someone that can be successful and driven and have a work-life balance most of the time, and really achieve their own goals and business goals. But it's not easy. So just persevere. Every day, stay focused on what needs to be done, and you'll just wake up 10 years later and think, wow, look what I've achieved. Imagine what I can achieve in another 10 years if I keep going the same way.
Beautiful advice and very inspiring principle. I wish you all the best, Rhonda, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Be radiant from within, and life's beauty will reveal itself all around you. Nurture a positive energy, love what you do, and take pride in it, even when challenges arise. This inner shift will naturally shine through every part of your word. Take time to reflect on how you think and speak about yourself, because it shapes your reality more than you might imagine. As psychologist William James once said, the greatest discovery of our generation is that a person can change their life by changing their attitude of mind. So stay positive in your thoughts, words, and actions. Plant seeds of love, and you harvest love in return. And always remember, genuine passion, when strong and sincere, holds the power to create miracles. Thank you for joining us today. Stay positive and keep leading from where you are.